Do you realize that 5 years ago tonight, WWE aired an episode of SmackDown, and most of their talent roster was stranded overseas in Saudi Arabia? And so WWE had to scramble. They had to figure out, what are we going to do? And what we ended up with 5 years ago tonight was an NXT invasion. And we had a main event on that show of Adam Cole one-on-one with Daniel Bryan. And Adam Cole pinned Daniel Bryan in the main event of SmackDown. His very first appearance on SmackDown, and he beat a former WWE champion. Still the only time that we ever got Adam Cole against Bryan Danielson. And it just makes you wonder here. 5 years, we look back, how things might have been different if the old man had shuffled out of the way a little bit sooner. We'll never know the answer to that question. But tonight, SmackDown was a taped show because the crew is traveling to, actually, I'm probably there already, but they're headed over to Saudi Arabia. So this was a show that was taped last week in Brooklyn, and it felt like it. Just like that Raw episode a few weeks ago, it felt like a taped show. I thought the second hour tonight was better than the first. I thought they did, for the most part, what they had to do to promote the key matches coming up tomorrow at Crown Jewel. This was the go-home show, after all. The biggest angle, the biggest segment, the biggest happening on the show tonight involved what else? It's a Friday night, so what else? The Bloodline. But not Solo Sikoa's Bloodline. This time it involved the OG Bloodline. Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso coming out, Jey Uso following. This was supposed to be a meeting of the minds here with the original members to try to get them on the same page because they have a match at Crown Jewel tomorrow against Solo and his crew. Can Roman Reigns and Jey Uso get back together on the same page? That was the purpose of the segment tonight. In the end, they did get back on the same page. I was watching very closely because I wanted to see what they would have Jey Uso talk about. What would Jey Uso have to say to Roman Reigns in this segment? Because it can't be as simple as him showing up and saying, hey, Us. Hey, all right, Us, come on, Us. We're back together, Us. Couldn't be anything like that. Jey Uso has some baggage that he had to unload on Roman Reigns tonight because Roman Reigns has put him through hell in the past. And so it couldn't be as simple as him coming out and just flat out forgiving him. I was curious what he would have to say. I thought that they did a good job in that segment of having Jey Uso explain the issues that he has with Roman Reigns and why he's willing to put those issues aside to stand side by side with his brother and his cousin to go to war with his other brother this weekend. I thought they did what they had to do, and I thought it was the best thing on the entire show. You heard the crowd reaction, and I was watching, and it's just amazing to me to see where Jey Uso was 4 years ago. He was never supposed to be in this role. And this is what a lot of people, I think, don't understand. When Jimmy Uso got hurt and he tore his ACL in the empty arena WrestleMania that year, in the tag team ladder match, he went away for a very long time. He had a long injury layoff. And that's why Jey Uso got the opportunity that he did to be in the role that he was in with Roman Reigns. And I sometimes think back to the beginning of all this, and I wonder, had Jimmy Uso not gotten hurt at WrestleMania 36, how different would this Bloodline story look right now? Would it have been Jimmy in the spot that Jey got? Would they have been equals? Right? Twins. Would they have been equals? But you look at where Jey Uso is now, he is truly one of the top stars in this entire company. He came out tonight, you saw the reaction from a crowd that had already sat through one episode of SmackDown and had every right not to be, terribly energetic. And when Jey Uso came out, they lost their minds. And they were bobbing up and down and they were singing his song. Even after the song was done playing, they were singing his song. I've never seen that before with Jey's music. He's a superstar. How different does that turn out if his brother doesn't get hurt? One of those what-if questions in wrestling that we may never know the answer to. But boy, is he a bigger star now than he was 4 years ago, and they will go into combat tomorrow against Solo Sikoa and his crew. But that was not even the main event tonight. The main event was Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton teaming up to take on GUNTHER and Luwig Kaiser. Of course, it's going to be Cody and GUNTHER in the Crown Jewel Championship match tomorrow. So the Crown Jewel titles that the winners will end up with tomorrow are staying in Saudi Arabia. They're staying at the WWE World that they have there. They're not leaving the country. What the winners are going to get when they leave Saudi is a giant ring that they can wear, like almost like a Super Bowl ring. That's what Triple H announced today on the pre-show that they had. So the titles are not even going to be... I think we all knew we weren't going to see these belts again for another year anyway. But they won't even be leaving the country. But Cody got a win tonight, but he was left laying when the show was over. What does that mean as far as who goes over tomorrow? We'll do my predictions a little bit later on. We had a little preview of the women's Fatal 4-Way Tag Team title match coming up tomorrow. One member from each team in a Fatal 4-Way tonight. Turned out to be the best match on the entire show. And this was a show that had Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, GUNTHER and Luwig Kaiser in the main event. And the women's match turned out to be the best thing that we saw in the ring tonight. We're going to talk about this show, and I've got some breaking news for you. So let's not waste any more time. This is your Friday Night SmackDown review here for November 1st, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Yes, it is a brand new month. We have turned the page on October. We have turned the page on Halloween. I hope everybody had a happy Halloween. We had a lot of fun. Maybe a little too much fun on the stream on Wednesday night. I want to thank you all for that. Got my Halloween hangover going here. Also got a brand new Super Chat. It's the new $27 Super Chat. If you want to check out the donation amounts down below, that is brand new. Of course, I will be reading your Super Chats a little bit later on as we go through things. Hey, Venom Kitetsu, if you're in the chat, I know you're there with me. Thank you, brother. I saw your Super Chat from earlier. I'm trying to look for a way to replay it, and I'm not seeing it, but I did get it, so thank you for that. And we'll get to your messages a little bit later on. The spooky ones, by the way, are still spooky. I am leaving them on for one more stream. So the ones that were redone for Halloween are still active in case that is something that interests you. Abusika says Bukaki.
I'm the Bukaki ghost.
Oh, this would have been perfect.
Oh my goodness. Oh my.
This would have been perfect for Halloween. How did we not get the ghost on Wednesday? Abusika with a $69. How did we not get the Bukaki ghost on Halloween? It would have been perfect. Couldn't end the week without an appearance from the ghost, he says. Yeet. Oh, man. Well, I'm glad to have you, Abusika. It's good to hear from you, brother. I did say that we had some breaking news, and it's always unfortunate. It's been a while, I feel like, since we've had some little wave of releases here to talk about, but there were some late-day WWE talent releases. There were 3 in total. There are not expected to be more. Of course, that could always change, but the word is that these are expected to be the only ones, at least for now. All of these people will become free agents in 90 days, so they are bound by the 90-day non-compete. They'll get paid in the meantime, but then they'll be free and clear. 3 names gone from WWE: Baron Corbin, Indy Hartwell, and Tegan Nox. Baron Corbin, look, he's been with the company now for over a decade. Spent many years in NXT. He did the Lone Wolf gimmick, and then he got called up to the main roster. And it just seemed to be one shit show after another for him. You can remember the Money in the Bank catastrophe with him. One of the worst, if not the worst, Money in the Bank cash-in of all time. I mean, they buried him 6 ways to Sunday with that cash-in. He must have had heat with somebody. So that didn't do him any favors. And then I remember the Constable Corbin era when they literally, this was the end of 2018, and they literally tried to use him. They used him as a scapegoat. Jack Perry goes around in AEW, calls himself a scapegoat. You want to see a scapegoat, go back and watch Baron Corbin late 2018, early 2019. The company and the creative situation in WWE was so dire, it was such shit at that time, to the point where all the McMahons, including Paul McMahon, had to stand in the middle of the ring live on a Monday Night Raw, literally to address the audience on television. And in so many words, tell us that they've been failing us. They've been letting us down. The product sucks so badly They had to come out and do their own state of WWE address, but then they worked it into a storyline and they blamed the quality of the show on Baron Corbin. Now, to be fair, what Baron Corbin was doing at the time was certainly playing into how awful the show was. But you can't lay it all at Corbin's feet, but that's what they tried to do. They used him as a scapegoat. Then, of course, we had King Corbin, and then we had bum-ass Corbin, which, funny enough, was the best Baron Corbin that we had, frankly, on the main roster. When he went broke and he was homeless outside in the street, that was the best version of Baron Corbin that we ever got. Outside, I guess, of the initial Lone Wolf in NXT. Then he hit the jackpot, and we got Happy Corbin, and nobody gave a shit. Then they put JBL with him, and that was a failure. And as if that wasn't bad enough, when they realized it was a failure, what did they do? They had JBL go on television and cut a scathing promo on him in the back, burying him. Right? A lot of people like to use that word bury. You want to see a promo where somebody got buried. Go back and watch what JBL said to Baron Corbin on Raw when they ended their partnership. If I recall correctly, I believe the words that JBL used at the very end was, "You can't polish a turd. I tried." And that was the end of their partnership. So at every turn, everything they gave to Corbin, so much of it was so bad, and it just felt like they set him up for failure. I'm not going to sit here and say I was the biggest Baron Corbin fan, but they had something in him in the early going, and it's almost like every step of the way they were going out of their way to figure out, how much worse can we make this? Like, how bad can we possibly make it to see if he can make this work? I mean, he was a part of so many bad television segments. Don't even get me started on the dog food stuff with Roman Reigns, and I don't even want to get into that. So his run, when I look back at his overall run, it's not a pretty picture. And a lot of it wasn't his fault. But you also have to look at the performer and say that he just wasn't connecting with the audience in a way that made the company go, hey, we've got something here. He just wasn't. For the majority of his run, he was a heel. He just wasn't interesting enough. He got good heat, but he just wasn't interesting enough. And the funny thing is, you know, after beating him down so badly, and everything I just mentioned, and JBL burying him on TV, they sent him back to NXT. And it was the best thing that could have happened to him. Because he went down there, he ended up forming this tag team, the Wolf Dogs, with Braun Breaker. And they turned into a pretty good team. He had a pretty good thing going down there. NXT Tag Team Champions. When we found out that they were calling him back up, it was like, ugh, okay, well, maybe Triple H will have something for him. No, Vince McMahon had nothing for him, and neither did Triple H. So if you're upset that Baron Corbin was discarded and he still had value left, this is something that you can hold over Triple H and say, hey, he clearly didn't see anything in him, or else he would have been doing something with him. All they did when they called him back up, they had him in a tag team with Apollo Crews. They never had the same kind of chemistry that he had with Braun Breaker. And Braun Breaker is too good, and his future is too bright to be stuck in a tag team with Baron Corbin, who I'm sorry to say was a proven failure based on the way he was booked. You don't want that rubbing off on Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker's got much bigger things in his future as a single. It would have been great for Baron Corbin to hitch his wagon back to Braun Breaker on Monday Night Raw, but how does that benefit Braun? So they tried it with Apollo Crews on SmackDown. It didn't work. They never really had a major story anyway. So they never even gave him a chance to make it work. And it was clear as day they didn't give a shit. So I'm not surprised, frankly, that he's gone. I'm a little surprised maybe that he didn't request his release himself. Maybe he did at some point and he was rejected. But I would have thought that he could have seen the writing on the wall a long time ago and maybe he would have wanted out. But evidently he was content. He was content to just stay there and do nothing. And now they said, you know what? We don't have a need for this guy anymore. So we're just going to get rid of him. I actually think Corbin can do well for himself on the independents. I do. I think he could be one of those kind of redemption stories where he goes out there on his own once he's free and clear. If he's motivated enough to do so, he can go out there and prove a lot of people wrong and say, hey, you know, you guys have been sleeping on me for all these years. You didn't get to see the real Baron Corbin. Now I'm going to go out and show you what I can do. He could turn out to be one of those cases in early 2025 when we look back at it. So again, if that's something he wants to do, I'm assuming he wants to continue to wrestle. I don't know. But if that's something he wants to do, I think he could turn out to be one of those cases early next year. We had Indy Hartwell was also released from WWE. Indy Hartwell, who appeared on the show tonight. She was in a tag team match on the show tonight. It was her and Candice LeRae against Bayley and Naomi. She was a former NXT Women's Champion for all of 30 days, but she was a former champion down there. She, of course, was part of The Way with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae and Dexter Lumis, Austin Theory. She had her big romance and her big wedding with Dexter Lumis. That was her peak. That was the peak of her run in WWE. Was her time in The Way and her wedding to Dexter Lumis. Once she got called up, I look back and I say, what are all the great Indy Hartwell moments from her time on the main roster? There are none. I can't think of a single one. And she's a good wrestler. When you compare her to the best that they have in the women's division, she was not at the top of the division. I would not place her at the top. She doesn't have the background. Certainly, she had not had the success. She doesn't have the same skills. I don't think that people like Bayley and Bianca, Rhea, and people like that, they have something about them. They have that intangible, or maybe they are known for their ring work, or maybe it's not even so much their ring work, but it's just they have that X factor about them. Indy just never found that. Whether she doesn't have it, or she just, again, was never put in a position to be able to show that she had it, I don't know. But I never saw that in her on the main roster in the time that she was up there. But again, we never got to see too much of her anyway. And kind of the cruel irony of it is, if you look at the match that they had on the show tonight, she probably had more ring time on SmackDown tonight in her final match after she was fired than she did her entire time on the main roster. And she looked fine tonight. But they just never had anything for her. And again, that's surprising, under Triple H, that they would not have come up with something. They would not have extended things with her and Dexter and maybe put them together as an on-screen item on the main roster and continued that story. They just didn't do anything. And I'll never understand calling people up from NXT. I can understand you have injuries and if there's a need that arises. We need women. We need men. Who do you got who's ready for prime time right now, who would be perfectly serviceable on TV that we can use and plug into the show because we have a hole here, we have a hole there? I can understand that. But when you don't have a plan for somebody, and I'm almost positive it was Triple H many years ago who made the comment that what they don't want to do is call people up blindly without having something for them to do. We want to have a 6-month plan for them. Whatever it was that he said, I don't remember the quote. They had no plan. Why call somebody up unless you have something in mind for them? You look at that NXT roster and you say, you know what? We have a role for Indy Hartwell on the show. I think it's time for us to call her up. It just felt like they called her up or drafted her, whatever it was, just for the sake of doing it. That's not good. That's not a good thing. Then you just end up floating around aimlessly. And if they have you on television, jobbing, or they have you rarely on television, after a while, people only see you at a certain level. And then they kind of slot you in there, and that's not good. So of late, she was Candice LeRae's companion on TV. Candice is another one. They haven't exactly done a whole lot with Candice. They've done more with her in the last 2 weeks, with her and Nia Jax, than they have in the last 2 years. I'm surprised they let go of her and not Candice, but Candice, of course, is linked with Johnny Gargano. Maybe that saved her. I don't know. I don't know what their criteria is when they cut these people. What is it that they see, let's say, and I'm not advocating for them to get rid of Candice. I mean, I like Candice LeRae, but in their mind, like, what is it? They look at one performer who they barely use and they keep their job. But Indy Hartwell, she's got to go. Like, what is it that goes into that thought process? You saw her in the ring tonight. She was fine. again, I wouldn't put her at the top of the heap of the elite of the elite in the women's division, but whatever it was, they obviously felt like her time was up and they didn't have anything for her. So she's another one who I'm sure is going to want to continue wrestling. She's always been a big fan, and I think she could do well for herself as well. And then you have Tegan Nox. Now, Tegan Nox has not wrestled a match since July. And she made it very clear on her Twitter that it's not because she hasn't been able to perform. It's not because she's been hurt recently. She's been ready. She said, some things are just out of your control, and you can only do as much as you can. Let's clear one thing up, though. I'm ready. I've been ready. Just have to show people what they've missed. So that sounds like, hey, don't count me out just yet. I'm not hurt. They just have me sitting on the bench, and that's not my fault. I'm ready to, pitch in and do my part. They felt differently. And Tegan Nox is one of those cases. It's a shame because they had very high hopes for her. And as I recall, they wanted her to win the Mae Young Classic. She was going to be in the first Mae Young Classic. So I believe she was in and got hurt in the second one. But she suffered an ACL tear very early on in her tenure in WWE, I think back in 2017. And so she rehabbed and she went through the surgery and the rehab and everything else. And then she came back, and it was in the Mae Young Classic. I'll never forget it. I was watching all of the NXT stuff at that time, including the Mae Young stuff. And she was in a match with Rhea Ripley. And I'll never forget, she did a dive out, almost like a Thez press, I think it was. Or maybe it was a suicide dive, whatever it was. She went out of the ring and onto Rhea, and she bashed her knee. I think it was on the steel grate, like the ramp. And you could tell she was hurt. And the referee checked on her, and she said, no, I'm good. She shakes the leg out, right? She gets back in the ring, and the match continues. But you could tell she's not 100%. And then she, I think, comes off the ropes. Rhea hits her with a drop kick. She goes down, and she immediately clutches her knee. She is in agony. And they were in Full Sail at the time, and so a hush comes over the crowd. It's very, very quiet. And she's crying. So you can hear everything now, and she's crying. She can't believe this is happening to her again. And it just broke your heart to listen to that because she had just gone through all the grueling rehab and everything. And again, the mental aspect to it too. I mean, that's a tough injury to come back from. And now she realizes that something is not just wrong, but her knee basically exploded. I mean, she tore her ACL, her PCL, her MC. I mean, her whole knee was just destroyed. And in that moment, your heart breaks for her. But it's also like, well, this is her second one since joining the company. And eventually she was able to make her return, and she ended up tearing her ACL for a third time. She had 3 ACL tears in less than 4 years. How do you come back from that? And by the way, I should point out, I'm almost positive that she has 4 ACL tears because I think she tore her ACL when she was younger and she played soccer. I know she had a very serious knee injury. I'm almost positive her first ACL tear was even before she got into wrestling. That's 4 ACL tears. And I don't know how many were in one knee as compared to the other, but that's both knees, 4 ACL tears in her life. Look, I wish her well, and it would make for a wonderful comeback story if she was able to hit the independent scene or end up working for another promotion and worked her ass off and didn't get hurt and stayed healthy and proved that she can still go. And I want her to do that, and I wish her all the best. But from WWE's perspective, again, whatever it was that made them push that button today, I can understand it. She was injury prone. And it was the same injury over and over again. And that's a tough thing to overcome. And they may have looked at her and they may have been very gun shy to include her in any major storylines out of fear that, her body may not be able to hold up. It's one thing to have a serious knee injury once, maybe even twice. When you do it 3 or 4 times, and she's still, relatively young. She's not like she's aged out. That's a tough thing to overcome. So if that was part of their mentality, I can understand it, honestly. But I hope that she's able to come back if that's what she wants to do and she could just stay healthy. That's always been the question with Tegan Nox. Can she stay healthy over an extended period of time? It's possible WWE just felt like she couldn't. It's also possible that maybe it was less a matter of that and just more a matter of we don't have anything for her, just like with Indy Hartwell, right? With Indy Hartwell, it wasn't an injury issue. It was just we don't have anything for her, or we don't see in her what we thought she had. Whatever their mentality was. It was clear if she's been fine since, July or whatever it's been, they've had her sitting on the sidelines. I mean, would you rather just sit on the sidelines and waste your career and just collect a paycheck? Or do you want to go out there and up your value and show people that you can actually go out there and you can work your ass off and you could be a big name? It's clear that wasn't going to happen in WWE. All three of these people can go out there now, if they want to, and prove them wrong and say, hey, look, this is what you could have had in me. You dropped the ball. I'm going to show you why. Who's to say that one day Baron Corbin doesn't end up back in WWE? They fired Drew McIntyre. The guy went out there and reinvented himself, became a world champion somewhere else. He came back. Look at the run that he's been on the last few years. It can happen. It's not the end of the world. And it's always possible that the door is open, that they could be back in the company one day. But they're not doing anything with you right now. Why are they going to keep you around, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. I can understand it. Hopefully that's it, though. Hopefully there's no more names that get tacked onto this list. You hate hearing about stuff like that. But yeah, it's a little weird seeing Indy Hartwell on the show tonight in light of the news that dropped today. Let's talk about this SmackDown show, though, because SmackDown opened with Nia Jax, the WWE Women's Champion, coming down to the ring. And she talked about the Crown Jewel.
Solomonster, look! I got tickets! One for me, and one for you.
It's Solo.
Yeet.
Solo Sikoa is so excited to have his 2 tickets. Hey, Natasha, thank you. Natasha Rigby with the brand new $27 super chat. John says, Baron Corbin is 40 years old. Aside from a Royal Rumble cameo, I can't see him coming back. It's unlikely, but no, I wouldn't say it's impossible. If Corbin wants to go out there and work, he will not struggle to find work. I think some people underestimate the power of the WWE brand and being a former WWE star. Like, he will find work if he wants it. And again, if he's motivated enough to go out there and put the work in, he's not going to have any problem working, and maybe he'll be back one day.
Solomonster, look! I got tickets!
He's so excited.
One for me, and one for you. Yeet.
Yeet. He's so excited with his paper tickets. But yes, I mean, look, the older you are, the less likely it is that they will bring you back when this is a company that's trying to get younger. Don't tell that to Tony Khan. But, look, Corbin's one of those guys where I remember him in NXT, and I remember some of the matches that he had. It always stands out to me, the tag match in the first Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. And it was him and Rhino against American Alpha. And the finish of that match where he gave the end of days to Chad Gable. Just the way he pulled that off, the way they did that finish. I always loved that. And there are some moments like that stand out to me. But, when you're on television for 6 years, 7 years, whatever it was, with just absolute garbage. Just garbage gimmick after garbage gimmick after garbage gimmick. It's just, you get branded a certain way, even if it's not your fault, and it's tough to break out of that mold. Had Corbin stuck around, you see him as a future WWE champion. I mean, it's hard to conceive of such a thing. I'm sure he wanted to be. I'm sure he had goals to one day become the champion, right? Everybody does. Sometimes you have to leave. The best thing for your career sometimes is to go away. And then eventually, maybe you come back and you come back bigger than you were before. It gets harder the older you get, but you say 40's old, but it's not, in terms of wrestling, it's not that old. Okay. I feel like you have more 40 and 50-year-olds on television today who not only are wrestling, but are performing at a high level, mind you. And they certainly don't look their age in some cases. We have more of that today than we have at any other point in the history of wrestling. So just because Corbin may be 40 or pushing 40, do not discount the possibility that this man in 2 years or 3 years, if he goes out and reinvents himself, could have a second chance. I will not rule it out. You cannot rule that out. Nia Jax. Oh, look at Nia Jax. I'm talking about Nia Jax. Nia Jax, she got released. Now, the thing with Nia Jax, I don't think she did a single fucking indie show. Nia Jax left, and I don't think she wrestled another match until she came back to WWE. But she came back to WWE. She's had the best run of her career over the past year. Look at what she's done this year. Didn't she open the year beating Becky Lynch? Won Queen of the Ring, won the Women's Championship. It can happen. Nia's in the ring here. She said that she wants the Crown Jewel title. She gets everything she wants. She mentioned winning Queen of the Ring the last time they were in Saudi Arabia, and she got it. She mentioned winning the WWE Women's Championship at SummerSlam. She wanted it. She got it. This brought out Liv Morgan along with Dominic and Raquel Rodriguez. Liv reminded Nia that the last time they wrestled, she beat her. And Liv said if anybody is going to become the first ever women's Crown Jewel champion, it's going to be her. Tiffany Stratton's music hits. So she comes out, said at Crown Jewel, it's going to be Tiffy time because she's going to cash in her Money in the Bank briefcase to become women's world champion. Nia starts laughing and Tiffany cuts her off and says, hey, don't get too comfortable because I could cash in on you too. Which caught Nia by surprise. She got offended. Liv told Nia that she has friends in her life that she can actually trust, unlike Nia. So Tiffany then asked Liv if she cashed in her title, does Dominic come with it? If I beat you for that belt, do I get Dom? Let me tell you something about Dominic, man. This guy is living the life here, okay? He's going to work every single week. He's just snuggling up to Liv Morgan every single week. This after, feels like years, probably 2 years, of being with Rhea Ripley. Now they're on opposing sides, but Rhea's kicking his ass every single week. Now he's got Tiffany Stratton longing after him here on the show. Do I get Dom? Man, I don't know what kind of lottery this kid hit, but good for him. Liv told her she already looked like she had enough dirty in her life. Tiffany rushed in, popped her with a forearm, and this led into the first match of the night. This doesn't work. Everything I just talked about, this doesn't work. And I said this when this match was announced. Unlike Cody and Gunther, I said, you're doing heel against heel. Nia Jax against Liv Morgan. Why? This doesn't work. You have two women out there. Nobody wants to cheer for either one of them because they're both heels. You have two heel women's champions. Liv is feuding right now with one of the most popular babyfaces in Rhea Ripley in the entire company. Liv, or Nia, on the other hand, doesn't have an equal like that right now that she's feuding with. There's nobody on the level of popularity of a Rhea Ripley that Nia Jax has on SmackDown right now to feud with. But this just doesn't work. The only thing saving this is the tease of a Tiffany Stratton cash-in, which makes the match at Crown Jewel completely pointless. Because you have a match with no heat, with two women that people don't want to cheer, wrestling for a championship that didn't even exist a few weeks ago, and doesn't matter because you have another woman who actually is popular, who's running around with a briefcase for a championship match, not for the new Crown Jewel title, but for one of the existing women's titles that isn't even at stake on this show. She's running around teasing that she's going to cash in. So when this match takes place tomorrow, everybody's going to be looking at the aisle because they're going to be waiting. They're going to be waiting for Tiffy time, and they're going to be waiting for Stratton to come running down to the ring. Who is she going to cash in on? That's the story of the match. It's not even about the Crown Jewel title. The Crown Jewel title is a complete afterthought. This doesn't work. And I told you at the beginning, this does not work. Tiffany and her story is the only thing saving this. And I'll tell you something else. I was thinking about this. I don't think it's going to happen, but I do wonder. Because Rhea Ripley is hurt. They shot an angle on NXT this week to cover for a legitimate injury. She has a broken orbital bone in her face. I don't know how long she's going to be out for, if she's going to have surgery or just let it heal naturally. I don't know. We don't have any update on that. That will dictate how long her recovery is going to be. But that's, for the time being, that's a big blow, because if they were going to blow off this feud possibly soon with her and Liv, which they kind of had to, now it's delayed. So whereas if you would have asked me a week ago, do you think you can extend this out to WrestleMania? I would have said, fuck no. Now it looks like they may end up doing Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan at WrestleMania, just the way the timing might work out. But if you really wanted to shake things up, I do wonder if they would have Tiffany cash in on Liv and win the women's world title and then move from SmackDown to Raw, where Luwig Kaiser is. And Tiffany goes to Raw if they think Rhea's going to be gone for a while. Shake things up, get Tiffany on the other show. Now she's the champion. I don't know where that would leave Liv Morgan. I mean, it kind of throws a wrench into her plans. And I don't think this is what they're going to do, but it is something that I would have to think they're at least giving some consideration to if they think they're going to be without Rhea for a while. They could use somebody like Tiffany on Raw to take her place. Just some food for thought. So then we had Tiffany Stratton one-on-one against Liv Morgan. We got to see a whopping 2.5 minutes of this match. For a match with the Women's World Champion. Right, Liv Morgan is the Women's World Champion. She's going into Crown Jewel tomorrow to compete for the first ever Crown Jewel title. And on the other side, you have the woman who is very likely going to be the next Women's Champion, whichever title she wins. Considering who was in the ring, this was a total throwaway match. This was awful. Awful. This match didn't feel big at all. And look at who's involved. How is it that this match just felt like, again, completely worthless? Didn't help that we only got to see 2.5 minutes of it. Terrible. They joined the match already in progress. Morgan went for Oblivion. Stratton avoided it. Nia was out there. She provided a distraction. Stratton grabbed her briefcase. She whiffed when she took a swing with it. Liv rolled her up with the tights and pinned her. We've been seeing that a lot with Tiffany Stratton, right? She's got the briefcase, so we can beat her like a drum. After the match, Liv blasted Stratton with the briefcase. Nia then got a hold of it, and she hit everybody with this briefcase, including Raquel and Liv and Dom, and then she hit the ropes, and she came off with the Annihilator, and she squashed Liv Morgan to stand tall to close the segment. After this, the announcers threw to a video recap of the conversation in the ring last week between Triple H and Randy Orton. Randy Orton was begging for a match at Crown Jewel with Kevin Owens, and Triple H didn't want to give it to him. He said, "I'm trying to protect you from him. He's got a different look in his eye. There's something's disconnected there with him. You've got metal rods and stuff in your back. You were gone for 18 months. I don't want to see you back on the shelf again." Randy begged. He relented. He made the match official. So then they cut to a brand new video that Kevin Owens sent in. He's sitting in his car. He said he tried to call Randy all week. He wouldn't pick up. And so he's sending this tape in to WWE in the hopes that they will air it and that Randy will see it. He said he looked up to Orton, and he still does, and he's forcing him to hurt him. He said he would hurt Randy like he hurt him, and it was all Orton's fault because he forced his hand, and so he has no choice. And he told Randy that he'll see him on Saturday at Crown Jewel. Another cryptic Kevin Owens promo. Sitting in a hotel room, sitting in his car. You know, one of these days he's going to be sitting in Randy Orton's living room. Then the camera's going to pan out. Randy's wife is going to be all tied up with tape over her mouth. It's going to get real dark. We had the Street Profits taking on Pretty Deadly. Two teams that are not on the Crown Jewel card tomorrow, but they were on this show tonight. So we had Dawkins taking out Elton Prince with a corkscrew elbow. Hit a series of spinning splashes on both members of Pretty Deadly. The big spot was B-Fab body slamming Elton Prince. She actually got him up, slammed him on the floor outside, and in the end, the Street Profits got the win with their super blockbuster. How can you blame Montez Ford for being frustrated? Montez Ford did an interview with the Daily Mail. It dropped today. And in the interview, he was talking about he loves his job, loves working for WWE, loves performing, but he admitted that it is hard not to get frustrated for a variety of reasons. It almost sounded like a lot of the frustration came from, being paired with Lashley, and then whatever happened with Lashley, which led to him leaving the company, kind of screwed them over. But he's just frustrated. And it's hard not to see why. If you're Montez Ford, he has every right to be frustrated. The man is spinning his wheels like a rat on a wheel. He's moving and moving and moving, but he's not actually going anywhere. So I don't disagree with him, and I could totally understand it. And it really hit me while I was watching this match. Now we saw B-Fab body slam Elton Prince. Apparently she's been training with Natty. So she's trying to improve and get better because she wants to actually wrestle and not just manage. But as far as the Street Profits, something's got to change. Something has to change with these two. It's just, how can they be happy doing what they're doing? And now it's bleeding over. You're hearing him talk about it openly in his interviews about how frustrated he is. 100%. I agree. He should be. There was real potential there with him as a single coming out of that Elimination Chamber match last year, and they didn't do anything to follow up on it. They did nothing. That was in February of last year. We're almost in 2025. Do you realize the Elimination Chamber coming up in March is going to be 2 years? Right? I'm pretty sure it was Elimination Chamber last year, not this year. 2 years we're coming up on since he had that spot in that U.S. title chamber match and stole the show. And they said, you know what? He was so good in this match, we're going to put him right back with Dawkins. And we don't got nothing for these guys. They haven't even had a tag team title run. It's probably been about 2 years or 3 years since they even held gold. It's not even like they're doing a lot with them as a tag team. It would be one thing if they had a strong division and they were defending the titles or they were wrestling all these different great teams. They have nothing for these two. It is time for them to go their separate ways. You have Montez Ford on one show by himself. You have Angelo Dawkins by himself on the other show. Sink or swim. Give them a singles push. Separate them. They don't have to feud with each other. One doesn't have to turn heel on the other. Let them go their separate ways. Or come up with something better for them to do as a tag team. Because every time I see the Street Profits come out here, I see them doing the deal. I see Angelo Dawkins, he's flying around. I see Montez Ford, he's doing all these very impressive moves. He's a super athlete. What does it mean? So what? So what? He's on television and every big match they lose. Then the next week they're wrestling pretty deadly. So what? Give me something. Do something with them. Do something with these two men. Do something with Montez Ford in particular, because he has the goods to be so much more than he is right now. And now we're talking about coming up on 2 years since that chamber spot. Are we going to be sitting here in another 2 years saying, man, I can't believe it's been 4 years and they still haven't done fuck all with this guy? And then one day I'm going to come on here and I'm going to say, oh, first we have some breaking news to cover. Montez Ford was let go. I don't want to see that happen. Something has to change. In the back, Tiffany Stratton said that she didn't mean it when she said that she might cash in on Nia. Naomi and Bayley walked up to both of them, and Naomi told Nia to keep her title warm for her. And Stratton had a nasty bump on her head. I mean, she got nailed with that briefcase earlier. She took a shot to the head, and you could see she had a knot right in the top of her head. It was nasty. Where is Giovanni, says Matthew Miller. I'll tell you what, I'm surprised he wasn't announced on the list of cuts today. Boy, did he dodge a bullet. They let go of Baron Corbin. They let go of Indy Hart. Indy Hartwell at least has been doing some. She hasn't really been doing anything, but she's been tagging along with Candice. She had a match on the show tonight. She got let go. Tegan Nox got let go. Giovanni Vinci, though, he's still hanging on. He's another one of these guys. Again, I'm not trying to will it into existence, but my God, it is clear as day that they just do not have anything for this guy. And he's another one who's going to continue to flounder, and he's going to continue to waste away until inevitably the day comes that they do get rid of him. So he's going to have to make a decision himself at some point. Is he happy doing what he's doing, which is nothing, and just collecting a paycheck and hoping that one day they'll remember that he's still there? Or does he want to leave and go somewhere else and actually work? Because they went through all the vignettes, and then they debuted him. They re-debuted him on TV in the worst possible way. And there were still some people thinking, well, they're telling a story. Maybe this is the beginning of an angle where in the end, he's going to snap and he's going to just go nuts, and then he's going to start racking up wins. Oh, that's adorable. Yeah, we're still waiting on that. Still waiting on that. Now he can't even get he can't buy a mention on TV. If Giovanni Vinci was a stock, I would dump it. So to answer your question, where is he? I don't know. But he's very lucky he didn't, or was he very lucky that he didn't end up on the cut list? I'm not so sure. We have Bayley and Naomi against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. And, well, this is not awkward or anything. Indy was out there like a dead woman walking, didn't even realize it. It's like watching Goodfellas. Never saw the shot coming. But like I said before, the funny thing is, this turned out to be her swan song. She got more ring time here than she has on television in months. Things broke down. Bayley was the legal woman. Bayley hit a neck breaker on Candice, and Naomi got a blind tag. But LeRae and Hartwell, they worked over Bayley, and when Candice tried to pin Bayley after a moonsault, the referee wouldn't count. The referee wouldn't count because Bayley was not the legal woman. So Candice stands up, she turns around, and she eats a face full of ass from Naomi. And Naomi pins her. I'm not sure what Candice, her future is, what she's going to be doing now that Indy is gone. They were tag team champions once before. I mean, together they weren't really doing anything collectively. Candice had those couple of weeks there where she was doing some stuff on TV recently with Nia Jax. That looks like it was a one-off. I actually think that could have been a good role for her. Almost like a minion. Nia's the queen. She could be like one of her minions. But it doesn't look like that's going to continue. So I'm not sure where Candice LeRae goes from here. But we know where Indy Hartwell went. She went to the unemployment line. And then it was time for the Bloodline family drama. Roman Reigns makes his way down to the ring along with Jimmy Uso. And Jimmy reminds Roman that stronger together is what Roman would always say. When did he say that, by the way? Did he ever say that on TV? I don't remember. Did they put that on a t-shirt at some point? Stronger together? I don't remember that. So Jimmy says he loved Roman, and Roman needs to listen to him. He needs Roman to drop his beef with Jey. Jimmy said that he made up with his brother. Crowd started chanting, "Squash the beef." Jimmy said it was time for Roman to make up with his cousin and our brother. And he said that if they don't get it right, they're going to lose Solo, or they're going to lose to Solo and his bloodline. So Roman put his hand out for the microphone, and as Jimmy went to hand him the mic, Jey Uso's music hits. And Jey comes out of the crowd, and everybody is going nuts. Everybody's bobbing up and down. They're singing to his song. They cut the song off in the ring, and they're still singing the chorus to the song. Jey said, "Let's get one thing clear. This match, this fight, I only took it to get back at Solo because Solo cost me my Intercontinental title, and he is messing with the family." Jey said that things aren't all the way fixed in the family. Said it took all that he had in him to stand beside Roman in this ring right now. And he's not going to forget what Roman did to him, the physical damage, the emotional damage, the mental damage. Jey said he showed up because that's what family does. He said they have to show everyone it's family above all. He said this go around, Roman, It's not going to tell him what to do or how to do it. He said he wasn't Roman's lackey anymore. He's not his right hand. He is his equal now. He said all three of them were equals, and they should run things like they used to back in the day. He said if Roman speaks to him, or if he treats him with the slightest bit of disrespect, he's out. And Jey said Roman could act like his cousin and not his tribal chief, and if he could do that, if he does that, he'll see him at Crown Jewel so they could do it together. So Jey asked Roman if they would do the damn thing. And Roman took his sweet time. He was looking around. He was surveying the situation and taking it all in. And then finally he said one word. He gave a one-word answer. He said, YEET. And the crowd lost their minds. And Jimmy put up his finger. Jey did the same. Roman followed suit. And the crowd ate it all up. And there it is. The OG Bloodline is back together. No wise men and no Solo, so it's not the complete group per se, but this is where it all began. You know, when this thing started 4 years ago, who did it start with? Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. And so now here we are 4 years later, and it is pretty incredible to see how far Jey Uso has come. Jey Uso was a tag team wrestler for his entire life. He was a twin. That's what he was. He didn't even really have an identity of his own. I feel like on Total Divas, I remember when Naomi was on there, and Jimmy would get more time on there than, you know, Jey did, as far as being able to see Jimmy as his own man. And Jimmy always struck me as somebody who had a lot of charisma. He was a funny guy. And I always thought if they ever did split the Usos up, it would be Jimmy, who could probably have a pretty successful singles run. Jey Uso was always the quiet one. And I get the impression that in real life, he's very shy. And that's how he came across to me. But when opportunity presents itself, sometimes you either get put in a position to succeed that you didn't expect, or you get put in a situation that you weren't prepared for and you fail at it. Jey had the advantage here of being related to Roman Reigns. I'm not going to say that Jey, the only reason he's in the situation he's in and having the success he has is because he has no talent. He didn't do anything himself. Of course he has talent. He's been able to connect with the audience in a way that I never thought he would, but he did benefit from being part of the family. And he got an opportunity to do something that other people would kill for. He got valuable television time every single week opposite the champion, the most popular star, the biggest name in the entire company for years. And they cultivated this story over a period of time where Jey Uso went from, being a nobody basically, on his own, to being a somebody. That's storytelling. 4 years worth of storytelling for this character. Remember where he was at the beginning, where he was telling Roman, I hate you, right? He's standing in line, he's falling in line, but I hate you. I hate what you're doing to me. I hate the mental games. I hate the manipulation. Roman was psychologically torturing this man every single week on TV, and we got to sit here and get a front row seat to it. But he always had Roman's back, right? Because it's all about family. Then they brought in Sami Zayn. And Jey Uso hated Sami Zayn. Jey Uso was the one guy in the bloodline who detested him and wanted him bounced out of the group because he wasn't one of us. He wasn't family. And over time, he warmed up to Sami. And then eventually they became best friends and the people ate it up. His character evolved. And then finally he showed up on SmackDown one day and he told Roman, I'm out. He's his own man now. I'm my own man. And the question was, can Jey Uso actually get a singles push on his own away from Roman and be successful? The answer is yes. So when he goes out there, yeah, he may not have the most dynamic matches. His moveset's a little lacking, but you can't argue success. Goes out there and the people love it, and the people buy his merch, and they dance and they sing and they cheer and they chant. And here we are 4 years later, and WWE made a star out of Jey Uso. So to see the evolution of the character and how he has grown as a performer since then, as a viewer who has invested so many hours of my time in this story, it's a very cool thing to see. And now he's an equal with Roman Reigns. Or is he? Because I did notice that when they stood in the ring at the very end here and they put their fingers up in the air, once again, it was Roman Reigns square in the middle. So you wonder, does Roman necessarily see it that way? Because honestly, it's like, I mean, if you really think about it, Roman had no choice here. What was he going to do? I mean, he's outnumbered. He got his ass kicked, right, by Solo's Bloodline multiple times. And it's like, he knows he needs help. So, of course, he's going to make nice with Jimmy. And he's going to make nice with Jey. And he has the help now that he needs. But the character hasn't really changed. Roman Reigns has not changed. Roman Reigns has not gone babyface. He was just gone long enough to where the people missed him and now they go crazy for him. But the actual character, he hasn't changed. He's still the same guy he was a year ago. We'll see if he evolves in any way. But I thought as far as this segment goes, it was very well done. I was very happy, though, that they hit all the key points as far as Jey Uso, all the beats I wanted them to hit. Jey came out there and said, the family's got problems. It's taking everything in me to be here tonight because of all the things that you did to me. And if you want this to work, I'm only doing this because it's family, but if you want this to work, you need to promise me right now, I'm not your gopher, I'm not your lackey, I'm not your underling. I'm your equal. And the minute I'm not, I'm gone. That's what he needed to say. Now, should this have been dragged out for longer? Would I have dragged this out longer? Yes. But this is what they had to do because they have the match tomorrow at Crown Jewel. They're not even waiting until War Games. We're already getting the first match here with these guys tomorrow. This segment had to take place now. In a perfect world, though, would have taken a little bit longer for us to get to this point, but here we are. And I thought what they did was very good. And the crowd ate it up. Byron Saxton interviewed the new tag team champions in the back, the Motor City Machine Guns, who won the titles that very night, since this was taped. So they're in the back now, and they are quickly interrupted by Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Waller said that they respect the Machine Guns and they should be on the biggest talk show in WWE. And Alex Shelley said, Miz TV? He said, nope. It's the Grayson Waller effect next week. The Motor City Machine Guns will be on there. We had a fatal four-way match with one member from each of the teams in the Women's Tag Team Championship match on Crown Jewel tomorrow. This time here, it was Bianca Belair, it was Io Sky, it was Piper Niven, and it was Lash Legend. And I thought to myself, finally, an actual worthwhile match on this show, and one that positively promoted a match at Crown Jewel. Because when this match was over, it actually left me wanting to see the full tag team match. You know, sometimes we see them do things or give away matches on the show that make me less interested in what they are offering on the PLE. But this time, I'm actually looking forward now more than I was before to this women's tag match tomorrow. But it only took an hour and 15 minutes into the fucking show for us to get a worthwhile match on this card. I thought Lash Legend looked good here. Apparently, her and Jakara Jackson are on the main roster now. I wasn't sure if it was just a temporary thing and they were still going to be full-time in NXT. But they're here. They're on the main roster, and I don't think they're going anywhere. But the crowd was into the tease. We had a little tease late in the match. Jade Cargill was not in the match, but she got into the ring, and we had a stare down with her and Lash Legend, and the crowd reacted to that. They wanted to see it before Jade got pulled back out to the floor. Piper landed a series of running sentons late in the match on everybody, and then a Michinoku driver on Bianca. Lash Legend booted Piper, and then we got the face-off that I just mentioned between her and Jade. Jade got pulled out of the ring. While Lash Legend is looking down at Jade Cargill on the outside and she's distracted, Bianca Belair sneaks up behind Lash and she hoists her up onto her shoulders for a KOD. And Bianca had a hell of a time getting Lash Legend not up for it, but getting her over. Because, you know, she has to basically flip the person over for the move, but Lash is so big. She's strong and she's, you know, she's got size, so it wasn't easy for Bianca to flip her over, but she did. But what she did not realize until the very last second when it was too late is that as she's delivering this KOD, Io Sky has gone up to the top rope and is already in mid-moonsault. She hits her over the moonsault onto Bianca. Bianca rolls out of the ring to the floor because you're not going to pin the champion, I guess. So she's out of the ring, and then Io goes over and pins Lash Legend to win the match. This was fun. It was a fun match, I thought, and again, it got me more interested to see the full tag team match at Crown Jewel tomorrow. So to that end, I thought it served its purpose. It was also the best match on the entire show, including the main event. This right here was the best match. Io winning doesn't seem to bode well for Damage Control tomorrow, but Io is really over right now. Crowd has really taken to her as a babyface since the Damage Control turn. And I hope they have more planned for her early next year. I hope they have something in mind. I don't even mean her and Kyrie together. I mean for Io. You know, we got the Royal Rumble coming up in a few months. She would be on my short list of potential winners. But whatever they choose to do with her, they need to do something with her. Cody and Randy getting ready for their main event. They were in the back, in Cody's locker room, having a chat. Cody asked Orton, save a piece of Kevin Owens for me at Crown Jewel. Orton said, look, I can't make any promises because I'm not expecting or intending to leave much of Kevin Owens left at the end of our match. So as Cody is tying his bootlaces, the WWE title is hanging in Cody's locker behind them, and Randy is gazing at the WWE Championship. And Orton made a comment here to Cody, and he said, after he told Cody, look, I can't promise you that I'm going to leave anything left. I intend to finish off Kevin Owens at Crown Jewel. Cody made a comment to him like, well, then I don't know what I'm going to do. And after looking at the WWE title, Orton said, I'm sure you'll think of something. And he walked off. I'm sure you'll think of something. I've been saying, have I not pointed this out recently, that Cody Rhodes gifted Kevin Owens a WWE Championship match at Bash in Berlin? A match that Owens didn't even think he deserved. And Cody insisted. He went to Nick Aldis and insisted that he give Kevin Owens a title match. And it stands to reason that why wouldn't Randy Orton want the same? Why wouldn't he expect the same thing from Cody? When he's Cody's friend, and he's had Cody's back just like Owens did. Cody hasn't gifted him a WWE Championship match. But clearly he wants one because he can't take his eyes off that belt. But I don't think that Randy Orton is beating Kevin Owens, so he's more likely to, Owens that is more likely to get, I think, the title match at Survivor Series, unless they end up doing a triple threat match. But then we have Saturday night's main event coming up in December, so they could always divide it up. Yeah, I could do Owens at Survivor Series and do Cody and Randy in December. It's a few different ways they can go with it. They don't have to go the triple threat route. If they don't go the triple threat route, my question would be, what does Randy do at Survivor Series? You know, Randy Orton is like Mr. Survivor Series. He had a lot of success at that event over the years. It's kind of sad they don't have any elimination matches anymore. Let him captain a team. See, I feel like I know War Games is the new tradition at Survivor Series, and I'm cool with that. But I do think it's a mistake to just completely give up on the tradition of the Survivor Series elimination matches. Like, you could still have one, you know, whether it's one for the men and one for the women, or just one in general. I would like to see them maintain the one Survivor Series elimination match every year. Maybe even adopt a stipulation. They only used it once in the history of the event. It was back in '95. They had a wild card match where, you know, Gorilla Monsoon was president at the time, and it was just a random pairing of heels and baby faces mixed up, teaming together. It was different. It was different. It was interesting. They never did it again. I'm not saying it has to be an annual thing, but I'd be down for another wild card Survivor Series elimination match. But just to maintain the history of the event. You know, War Games is not elimination. The elimination aspect is what was identified with Survivor Series for so long. And I just hate the idea of completely giving up on it when you can still do, one or two of those on the show. It's not going to kill you. The main event of the show was Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton against Gunther, the World Heavyweight Champion, and Luwig Kaiser. Before they went to break, Cody was in control over Kaiser. When they came back, Kaiser was in control. Okay. Cody went for a Cody cutter. Kaiser cut him off. Gunther tagged in. He and Cody exchanged some blows until Gunther chopped the soul out of this boy. Tagged Kaiser back in. Kaiser worked the always exciting chinlock. Randy Orton was jealous. Eventually, Kaiser and Cody clotheslined each other for the reset. That led to Cody tagging in the Viper. And Orton hit Kaiser with his snap power slam. Gunther tagged in. Orton went for the draping DDT on Kaiser. Gunther broke it up with a chop, so Gunther ended up being the recipient of the draping DDT instead. Orton set up for an RKO, but when he went for it, Gunther shoved him off. Randy landed on his back. Cody and Kaiser, they each tagged in, and Cody hit a Cody cutter from the top rope. He set up for Crossroads. Gunther broke it up. Orton then dropped Gunther with an RKO. He rolled out of the ring. That left Luwig Kaiser all by himself with Cody Rhodes, and Cody laid him out with a Crossroads for the 1, 2, 3. And the babyfaces posed until Kevin Owens showed up, and he hit Randy Orton in the back with the chair. By the time Cody saw what was going on and came down from the turnbuckles, Gunther was back in the ring. He put him in a sleeper hold, and he choked out Cody in the sleeper. So the show went off the air with Cody down, Randy down, heels on top. That is how SmackDown went off the air tonight. I thought it was a perfectly fine match, but disappointing given who was involved. You had Gunther and Luwig Kaiser and Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. I expected more. You put those four guys in the ring together, I expect more. So that was disappointing. But they don't want to give too much away before Crown Jewel. You don't want to have too much of Cody and Gunther before they face off on Saturday. So the baby faces may have won here. Now look, they got left laying at the end. I still don't think that it's going to necessarily be a good night for them at Crown Jewel tomorrow. It was a taped show. It felt like it, just like that Raw show a few weeks ago felt taped. You could just watching it, the feel of the show, the Michael Cole cut-ins where you could just tell he was in a studio recording some of the VOs. But just the shows, when they're taped, they just have a different vibe because we're so used to seeing them live every week. They used to tape shows all the time. I mean, Raw, my God, would usually be live once a month. The other 3 weeks would all be taped. That was just the reality of how wrestling was back then. We're so used to having live everything every week that when it's taped, it's like, man, this show just feels different, And some of it also, I think, is that if you have a crowd that is just tired and you're running 2 Raws or 2 SmackDowns in the same night, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, and sometimes the crowd is exhausted. But it felt like a taped show. It was also the go-home show. So, I mean, let's be honest here. I wasn't expecting anything earth-shattering to happen anyway. You look back at this show and say, okay, did it get you more excited or interested in the show coming up this weekend? In the women's match, yes. In everything else, not really. I pretty much feel the same way. I think it's a pretty good card overall. I can't say I'm any more or less excited, though, about anything except maybe the women's tag match. The biggest thing on the show, obviously, was the Bloodline reunion, which was the best thing on the entire show. The women's match was the best match of the night. And as far as Indy Hartwell, so long, Indy. We hardly knew ye. Yes, Tiger, that's a good point. Raw is also taped this Monday because they are taping Raw in Saudi on Sunday. They're doing Crown Jewel tomorrow. They're going to tape Raw on Sunday. See, I don't mind. I mean, I don't mind it because I know why they're doing it. It's going to make life a lot easier for the talent because now they just get to go home. So I think logistically, it's a much smarter play for them to do that. But yes, unfortunately, we are getting another taped episode of Raw this Monday. Now let's talk about this Crown Jewel show because we are less than 24 hours away. I'm going to run down the card and give you my final predictions here. We do have Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defending the women's tag team titles against Damage Control, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. It would be an easy way for them to beat Bianca and Jade without actually beating Bianca and Jade if they wanted to get the belts off of them. It wasn't that long ago they put the belts back on them, though. And I feel like they're going to hold on to them a little bit longer until we get closer to Royal Rumble season. So I'm going with Bianca and Jade to retain. We have a triple threat match, LA Knight, Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, United States Championship. This run that LA Knight has been on, they have not had any real good heel opponent for him to face off with. Logan Paul was his last good foil. And, LA Knight's doing his thing. He's still popular. He comes out, he cuts the promos that he cuts, right? This is LA Knight. He's not doing anything wrong. They're just not giving him a whole lot. So if they wanted to take the title off of him and have him chase to get it back, I could almost understand it. I just don't see him losing the title here. If Andrade were to win it, if Carmelo Hayes were to win it, I would not be surprised, but I'm going to go with LA Knight because I think he's going to retain. But if they did a title change to either one of these guys, I wouldn't be shocked. We have Randy Orton against Kevin Owens. How is this going to go? Well, we heard Triple H last week. He was building up Kevin Owens like some kind of killer, right? Be careful, Randy. I'm worried about you. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. That felt like foreshadowing of something bad that's going to happen to Randy Orton on this show. And I think it's going to be, and kudos to the person, I forgot their name, but they wrote into the podcast last weekend. And they floated an idea, and I could absolutely see this happening. In fact, I think it is going to happen. We've seen Kevin Owens try to put people on the shelf before with that apron powerbomb. And we know about Randy's back, right? His surgically repaired back. I think he's going to make the back his target. I could see him giving him an apron powerbomb and doing some real dastardly shit. And whether he wins the match or the match goes to a no contest, that's what I've been kind of quarreling with here. I'm going to go with Kevin Owens for the win, but it almost doesn't matter. I think in the end, his goal here is to put Randy Orton on the shelf and put him out of action. Because I do think the title match will likely end up being Cody and KO at Survivor Series. So if that's the case, then they might want Randy off television for a little while to sell the injury. But I think you want Kevin Owens to come off as some kind of unhinged maniac, then you have to have him doing some unhinged maniac stuff. And I think him trying to take out Randy Orton is exactly what he needs to do. And I think he will do that tomorrow. We have Seth Rollins one-on-one with Bronson Reed. I am looking forward to this match. This is probably, I'm looking at this card here. This is the match right here for me, personally. This is the match I'm looking forward to. Probably the most. Because I've just really enjoyed what they've been doing with Bronson Reed now for the past few months. And I think him and Seth, what I'm watching for is how invested are they in Bronson Reed? Because if they're really invested in this guy, then he has to beat Seth Rollins on this show. There is no good reason to beat Bronson Reed at Crown Jewel. I mean, it would be ridiculous. So Bronson Reed needs to win this match. Bronson Reed should win this match, and I think he will win this match. And they've already set up an out for Seth Rollins based on what they did on Raw Monday night. He got hurt, right? The lower back. He got sent to a local medical facility, a local medical center. That was an out. So when he loses, they could point to the bad back and say, see, Seth wasn't 100%. It's a cop-out. I don't think they needed to do it, but that's the story they wanted to go with. Hopefully that bodes well for Bronson Reed. I have him picking up the win. We have 2 Crown Jewel Championship matches. Number 1 is the women. Liv Morgan, the Women's World Champion, against the WWE Champion Nia Jax. Heel against heel. Again, this just doesn't work. But it doesn't matter because it's not about either one of these women. It's about Tiffany Stratton, the one woman who was not even in the match. That's what it's all about. Who, if anyone, is she going to cash in her Money in the Bank on? I don't think she cashes in. I think she tries to cash in. I think she teases a cash in. I think it blows up on Nia Jax. It costs her the match. I think Liv Morgan is going to win the Crown Jewel title. And I think that in the men's match, we have Cody Rhodes and Gunther. I think Kevin Owens is going to get involved, and I think he's going to cost Cody the match. I think Gunther is going to win the Crown Jewel Championship. So my Crown Jewel Championship picks, Gunther and Liv Morgan. I Can't go with Gunther and Nia Jax because Gunther and Nia Jax, they won King and Queen of the Ring back in May. Are you really going to come back to Saudi in November and put them both over again? You're not going to do that. And so Gunther, I think, is going to win. I almost had to go with Liv Morgan because of that. I just don't see... I could see Cody winning, but I cannot see Gunther and Nia Jax both winning. It's an impossibility for me to even think of. So those are my Crown Jewel picks. And then we have the Bloodline. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa on opposing sides, leading their own respective bloodlines. On one side, Solo, and we don't know. They had all the members of Solo's crew in the graphic, but we don't know which three are actually wrestling. It could be Solo and the Tongans. It could be Solo, Jacob, and Tama with Tongaloa on the outside. That would be my guess. Taking on Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, and Jey Uso. And if you are preparing for a War Games match, Bloodline style at Survivor Series, there is only one logical outcome to this match. Solo Sikoa has to win. He has to do the one thing that he has been allergic to the last couple of months. Win a match. He's been doing a lot of losing. If you want to get to War Games, you've got to give the babyfaces a reason to fight back. You can't just have them win here because, okay, now we've seen them win. Now what? It's like when Damian Priest beat Finn Balor at Bad Blood. I saw that. I'm like, well, now what? He went in there and he beat him. Yet they're still continuing the story with those two. It just doesn't make sense. Solo's Bloodline needs to win this. It's still 4-on-3. Roman, Jimmy, and Jey are still down one man. And we know Sami Zayn has been reintroduced to this story. We saw it on Raw Monday night. Sami is going to end up being the fourth man in that match. When they'll announce it, when we'll get there, probably not until late November, right? Take your time. There's no need to rush into it. But they're still down a man. And I think that plays into things, and Solo's crew wins. So, yeah, I got a lot of heel winners in my picks. I got Solo's group, Gunther, Liv Morgan, Bronson Reed, Kevin Owens. Boy, I got a lot of heels on my prediction card here. But I am going with Jade and Bianca and LA Knight, so it's not all heels. But it is a very heel-heavy night if my predictions are true. So we'll find out. Just so you guys know, there will be no Crown Jewel stream tomorrow. I will not be live after Crown Jewel. I will not be here. I'm watching the show, and then I have someplace else I need to be. So you won't have to wait long, though. I'm going to have a full Crown Jewel review on the podcast on Sunday. That'll be episode 886. There's a lot to talk about on that podcast, including this new WWE indie development program. I'm going to get into all that. That will be on Sunday, so just be aware of that if you are looking for me tomorrow. What did you think of the Smackdown before Crown Jewel? 63.7% of you say thumbs up on this show. 36.3% say thumbs down. Thank you for voting. Thank you for the follow as well if you are following me on X at Solomonster. You can go ahead and vote right now in the poll. Kratos says the fact that Roman is getting the main event really shows you what they think of Cody beyond this fake push him because he's from AEW push. Yeah, I don't think that's why he's being pushed. I think you're being very naive if you think that's why Cody is being pushed. He's being pushed in spite of being from AEW. And do we know for sure that the Bloodline match... I mean, I think the Bloodline match is going to main event. But I don't think we know for sure yet that the Bloodline match is going to close the show. All right, let's scroll back here. Take a look at your super chats. Thank you for all the love. We had the best October that we've ever had here in the history of the channel, which is awesome. Maybe we can do that in November. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be up to you guys. Hey, Daddy Ball, getting us started. So early, it's not even on the list here. Daddy Ball says, fun fact, Robin Williams has a cameo as a biker groom in Charlie Sheen's biker movie Beyond the Law. I did not know that. I did know, however, that Robin Williams has a guest appearance on an episode of Law & Order SVU, and he's actually very good. It's actually really creepy if you've never seen the episode with him. In case anybody doesn't know if he can do a serious villainous role, the answer is yes. Although, what was the other 1 hour photo? Was that the movie? He did at least one movie like that where he was the villain and he was very good. He's very convincing. And Venom Kitetsu, there's my boy. Halloween is over, but Brie mode lives on. The horror never ends. Hope your indoor Halloween night was as good as mine. Spent it playing Shadow Man and WCW NWO Revenge on the N64 while doing random swigs of Jack Daniels. Random swigs of Jack Daniels is the best Jack Daniels. I need to get a random swig myself. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. David Thiering. Where's my boy David? There he is. David Thiering with the $27 I got tickets super chat. He wanted to test it out. Look at this. No message. He just wanted to test it out. I love it. Thank you, David. Jerome Eugenio. Can Tiffany Stratton win a match before the end of 2024? I'm going to say no. It seems like she's unable to win a match. As long as she has the briefcase. The briefcase is like, it has some like weird opposite power where when you win it, you are unable to win. You forget how to win matches. The best thing you could do is get rid of it. Abu Sika with the $69 super chat. Couldn't end the week without an appearance from the Ghost. Yeet. Always love seeing the Ghost, even if it's not Halloween. You missed it by a day. I guess I wasn't streaming yesterday. Oh yeah, Insomnia. That's right. Robin Williams was in Insomnia. That was also very good. Dev to Dust. Jim Johnston is the John Williams of wrestling. Well, that's high praise. I thought you were going to say Hans Zimmer. He is the Hans Zimmer of wrestling. Mr. Rod, what's up, Solo? I'm sure your week was made seeing the Yankees lose. Not so much for me, but oh well. Better luck next year. I don't take any glee in the Yankees losing. I wish it were the Mets, and it wasn't, and I think it would have made for a much better World Series, but I didn't take any glee in the Yankees losing. Natasha Rigby with the 27 wanted to activate this new super chat again for everybody here. As always, saying hi and hope you have a great weekend while I secretly make sure the kiddos don't have too much of that Halloween candy. Check it for razor blades, I always say. Natasha, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the new super chat. All that Halloween candy. You know, I went into a store today. They still had the jack-o'-lantern out front. And just, I don't eat candy anymore, but like I looked in just to see what they had, and they had Tootsie Rolls, and they had what are those things? It's like a flat, that's Sour Straw, maybe Sour Patch or something, whatever it was, and then they had the mini Snickers and Twix, all that good stuff that I used to have, but I won't touch it anymore. I can't touch it anymore. Navy 4181. Did you catch? Power Spy and Games just covered your super chat. But Navy says, good thing I have it here on a second column that you can't see. Did you catch Hulk Hogan on the Patrick Bet David podcast? Hogan talked, I don't know who that is. Hogan talked about Cher and Madonna wanting to sleep with him. Also, the timeline was way off. He said he was in WWE and then TNA and then WCW. Well, Hogan's brain is fucking mush. So you can't believe a word out of the guy's mouth. He's a fucking worker until the end. Everything with him is a work. I don't know why anybody takes anything he says seriously. He's a clown. We got one. That's his name. One. Me when I get to catch a Solomonster stream live. It's a rarity. One as in the one stream that you will get to watch live. Well, I'm glad to have you with me, one. One with a 27, though. I love that. See, that I love. Hey, one, you got to show up more often. You got to be 2 next time. Each stream, your number should go up by 1. The real CS 02 Baron, I can't see, or Baron I can see doing a couple of indie bookings here and there, but I don't really see him doing much else in a major promotion. Well, time will tell. I wouldn't write him off completely just yet, but yeah, I do think he would do well on the indie scene. He would not be hurting for work on the indie scene, and there's a lot of really good talent out there for him to work with. And I think he'll do well, you know, at least for a while at least. If his goal is to come back one day to WWE, never say never. Never say never. Josh Herman, Solo longtime fan, just figured out how super chats work. I'm not tech savvy. Any update on Miss Bliss? Nothing yet. Not planned to return this year, but I would be I don't want to say surprised if she's not in that, but I would be confident that we would see her in the Women's Royal Rumble. Because I do feel like early 2025, when I say early, I mean like before WrestleMania. I mean January, February, maybe March at the latest. I would expect to see her back. So I'm just throwing the Rumble out there. It's February 1st, right? It gives still some time between now and then. I think we could get a surprise appearance from Alexa Bliss in the Royal Rumble. I think so. Nick Grasso with Rhea Ripley hurt. What happens to the Women's War Games match? Does Rhea come back and work through and wear a protective mask like Bryan Danielson? I don't know how serious her injury is. So, I mean, the question is whether or not she's going to need surgery for it. I don't know. Nobody has any of those answers right now, but I'll say this. The only Women's War Games match that made any sense at all would have been Team Rhea against Team Liv. And if Rhea can't go at Survivor Series, I don't see the point in doing a Women's War Games match, so I wouldn't do one. If Rhea's hurt to the point where she can't be at Survivor Series, you do a Men's War Games match and that's it. You come back to the women next year. I'm sorry, because there's just no other match that would even come close to warranting a War Games match. Now you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. It's like if they didn't have the Bloodline story this year. Let's say they didn't have that, right? I mean, you maybe could have done something Judgment Day related, but like, if the story isn't there and they wanted to take 1 year and skip War Games, if there really was no match that warranted it, I'd be okay with that. You know, you need to have a story that actually makes sense for the War Games match. They have nothing on the women's side. Even Team Rhea and Team Liv is a stretch. But absent that, there's just no point in doing a Women's War Games. I'm sorry. I'm sure they will, but I wouldn't. The Juliet says, still not over Wednesday's jump scare. I know, I scarred you. I'm sorry. Winston Slip says, Corbin met his end of days in WWE. Indeed he did. Avwunu with the $3. I enjoyed Solo's promo. I believe he has to pin Roman specifically because that's the only way to kickstart a change in Roman. Also, that Dom Riz. Yeah, they had a pre-taped Solo Sikoa promo. I didn't mention it, but it was pretty paint-by-number stuff. Solo has lost so much that, you know what? Beating Roman would be a nice way to kind of claw back some of that credibility that I think he's lost. Do they beat Roman? I mean, look, we're talking about Roman losing to his family. I'm sure he doesn't give a shit. So you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Solo should pin Roman in that match. You want to make a statement? You pin Roman Reigns. Power Spying Games. I'm going to see the SmackDown live show in London on Monday. It's very cool. Enjoy. Let me know how it is. And Mystic J, 44. After watching NXT this week and their women's division, if not on the main roster, why not make Evolution as an NXT PLE? You know, that would not be a terrible idea. Their women's division right now is stacked. I mean, did you see that scene at the end of the segment with, it was after Zaria's match. And all the women came out and we had that shot of Stephanie Vicaire, Julia, Zaria, Kalani Jordan was out there. Who am I missing? Was that 5? Oh, and Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace showed up on NXT. But you saw Jordan and Zaria and Julia and Stephanie. It's like, holy shit. That's when it really hits you. Like this division is just as stacked as it's ever been in the history of the brand. And they're putting a big 10-woman tag on NXT this Wednesday at the ECW Arena. They're going to be taking on Fatal Influence, Roxanne Perez, and Cora Jade. Daniel Malcolm, happy November, Solo. Happy November to you as well, Daniel. Base Beerus, is this the first Rumble in February? Yes, it is. In the history of the Royal Rumble. It is the first time that the Rumble is taking place in the month of February. Venom Kitetsu, what's your health gimmick that prevents certain intakes? Well, I have no idea what that means. What do you mean gimmick? Specify. The health gimmick. Well, again, thank you guys for hanging out with me here on a Friday night. Appreciate it. We fell short of our goal tonight. Not shocking for a uneventful, well, I mean, outside the Bloodline stuff, relatively uneventful go-home show. I will be back with you live on Monday. That'll be after Raw. I'll have my full Crown Jewel review and all the news of the week on the podcast on Sunday. That'll be episode 886. So hopefully you guys will check that out. The Winston Slip, channel member here for 20 months. What a ride it's been. Thanks for all the hard work, Solomonster. GWO is going to run wild forever. I am proud to have you and everybody else as members of the GWO, our little green world order in the live chat. Don't forget those 2 hours of members-only Q&A, 2 different videos, an hour each. If you are a brand new channel member, you can go back and check out the full Q&A. It is exclusive to channel members. Base Beerus, you have to be a wrestler next Halloween. Do I, though? I was the Macho Man a few years ago when I had a Halloween meetup in the city with some fans of the show. We did a little meetup thing. And I dressed up as the Macho Man, and I passed out Slim Jims to everybody in the bar. I came bearing gifts so that everybody could snap into a Slim Jim. Since I still own the costume, maybe I'll be the Macho Man again. But one thing I will not be doing, I will not be doing the Macho Man voice for the entire night because that shit sucks. You try doing the Randy Savage voice for 6 hours and see how your throat feels when you're done. I thought I was going to be spitting up blood for the next 48 hours. Hey, Harry, thank you. Says Solo has been my favorite podcaster since 2013. So who was your favorite podcaster before 2013? So I topped them. I like to hear that. You got to do it. Look, you doing the Macho Man voice is crazy. You got to do it. If you're going to dress up as him, you can't dress up as the Macho Man and then have some girly voice. Come on. You got to have a manly voice. The Juliet, I want the NXT 10 women tag to run it back for War Games. Well, you know what? You could do that as a War Games match. But it's on NXT. So they're not going to do that at Survivor Series. But yeah, if those women were on the main roster, then sure, yeah, you could do the War Games match with them. Absolutely. Sadly, not going to happen, though. But hey, we get to see Bubba Ray Dudley and Trick Williams team up against Ethan Page and Ridge Holland. RVD's going to be there. Francine's going to be there. Dawn Marie's going to be there. They may have some surprise names pop up there. I don't know about Paul Heyman, though. You know, the wise man's been off TV. I don't know if they want him to return as part of an ECW nostalgia show before he comes back to the Bloodline. Probably not. Probably not. All right. I'm being told that we are currently at 402 likes. See, I don't understand. You guys, I know you guys have it in you every single week, and yet sometimes you wait until the very last second. How lazy can you be? Are you that lazy? You got to get up off the couch, my friend. Put the Cheetos down. Come on, man. You got to be a little bit quicker than that. See, I know you're just bullshitting me. You could have hit the 400 goal half an hour ago. You almost missed it. But I guess now we have to do it. It's time to be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Look at Braun Breaker. Looks like he's doing the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, be the booker. You almost didn't get it tonight. Came this close. Trell says, literally on the couch with a Cheeto. See, I know what I'm talking about. You think it's a stereotype, but it's not. I can see you. You don't even know it, and I can see you. Cheetos are bad for you, by the way. Don't have Cheetos. Have pretzels. All right, we begin with the East-West Connection. A team so old, this image is in black and white. But these guys used to wrestle in the Twin Cities. For Mr. Vern Gagne, there it is. Jesse Ventura and Adrian Adonis. Going old school here in Be the Booker. East-West Connection. Going to be taking on Aussie Open, Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis. Hey, Zizu, thank you for gifting a membership. Gifted a membership, and Boomerang was the lucky recipient of that random gifted membership. So, Boomerang, welcome to the family. Happy to have you. Zizu, thank you. All right, women's Be the Booker. Base Beerus, thank you for the $2. Have I ever seen Tyrus on Fox? I don't want to see Tyrus in a wrestling ring. Why the fuck would I want to see him on Fox? All right, we begin with Shayna Baszler, the Queen of Spades. Former NXT Women's Champion. You would never know it from her main roster run, but this woman in NXT, she was a killer. She was a killer. It's like when Paul Heyman stood in the ring after his work shoot pipe bomb promo on Vince McMahon on the Go Home show to Survivor Series in 2001, and he looked over at Taz, who was doing commentary, and he said, "This man, Taz, this man used to be a killer. He used to be a killer. And now he's just a fat, obnoxious little commentator and not even a good one." Yeah, he got choked out for that. Shayna Baszler against Kairi Sane. That's a Raw match. That's literally a Raw match. I think we saw that a few weeks ago. And now men's Be the Booker. Dave Batista. Didn't we land on Batista the other night? On like Monday or Wednesday? I think Wednesday night. We landed on Batista. Batista, so nice, we had to do it twice. Batista, back in the main event for the second time this week. This man's a double main eventer here in Be the Booker. Here I thought he was retired. Now he's pulling double duty this week. He already got his retirement match against Triple H. I guess he wasn't done yet. Batista gonna take the Devil's Choice. We landed on Devil's Choice. Hey, Boots just gifted a Sound Off membership. And it was received by, I don't know how to pronounce it, but WH1T3 What Face. Okay, What Face. Hey, What Face, congrats. Keep or replace the man that you just picked. Okay, so what do you, I'm going to leave this up to you guys, since I'm doing this for you. Do you want to replace Dave Batista or do you want to keep Dave Batista? Because we did pick Dave the other night, so we could replace him. But I will look at the chat and see what you guys think. I'm seeing a lot of votes to replace. Oh, Whiteface, not what face. It's Whiteface. Okay, Whiteface. Thank you. All right. You guys seem to want to replace it, so okay. All right. They're taking a risk here, though, because we could land on people who are far worse. Not nearly as big of a star, but okay. That's why it's called Devil's Choice. Bye-bye, Big Dave. Be fucking hilarious if we land on him again. Oh, we traded Dave Batista for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Did we trade up or trade down? I think we traded up. Arnie, the Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger in Be the Booker. This is what you guys wanted. This is what you asked for. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Is going to take on El Hijo del Vikingo. God, I don't know. I want to hit the bell on this so badly because it's just such an absurd fucking match. I so want to hit the bell. You know, fuck it. I am hitting the bell on this. Because at the end of the day, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? We're talking about booking an entertaining match. That is a match that I would be very entertained by. Arnold Schwarzenegger against Vikingo. It's the main event I didn't know I needed, but now I'm sad we're never going to get to see it. And that, of all the things to give us a clean sweep and Be the Booker, it is Vikingo against Arnold Schwarzenegger. Ed says the bodybuilder against the gymnast. Arnold taking a destroyer on the apron. I think Arnold just with one punch would basically that would be the end of Vikingo. He just kind of swat him out of midair. It would be a very short match. He would stretch him. Yeah, it's like the movie Twins. That's right. No one would think to book it. You just looked at the person who I'd book this for House of Glory in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me? We just had Vikingo a few weeks ago, and I just got to get on the phone to Arnold. I'd book it for HOG. We'd sell some tickets to that show, I guarantee you. Pick a stipulation. Nah. All right, I already moved off the screen. We got Yuio with the super chat. He who be nailing it is Swaggy. Go solo, go. Thank you, brother. RDS Harry with the 5. You're the first podcaster I ever listened to, honestly, when it comes to wrestling back in 2013. I was 16. Now I am 27. Keep doing your thing, brother. Way to make me feel old, Harry. But thank you. I'm glad you've stuck with me for all these years. Arnold against Vikingo in CMLL. I think Conan would be very upset if he doesn't get the match. Isn't Conan AAA? I think he would want the match. Well, we went from no Be the Booker to one of the weirdest main events I think I've ever booked in Be the Booker. So that was something. We'll have to come back on Monday and try to top it. But that is when I will be live with you. If you missed any of the streams this week, Monday night was a fun one. Wednesday night was the Halloween stream. We had a lot of fun on Wednesday. Go back and check all of that out. Leave a like there. And the audio for this review will be up in the morning. The Crown Jewel review will be part of the podcast on Sunday, and then back with you on Monday. It's going to be a very interesting week. And, of course, Wednesday, I'm still undecided about Wednesday if I'm going to do a double review. I'm inclined to review NXT only. I'm definitely reviewing NXT. I really don't want to do both shows together. So right now we're looking at an NXT review from the ECW Arena on Wednesday. But I will keep you guys posted on Monday. I'll let you know what the plan is. So hopefully you will join me then. Join me then. Kratos. Did we book that match? I don't remember. I don't think we booked that match. Cornette against Russo would be an interesting, because they're both in Be the Booker. Cornette and Russo are in Be the Booker. If we ever land on Cornette against Russo, first of all, I'll have to pick a stipulation for that. How fucking hilarious would it be if we get Jim Cornette against Vince Russo and then I land on exploding barbed wire deathmatch? So I'm still waiting to book that match. NXT, NXT, NXT. I think if I put it to a poll, most people would pick NXT this week for me to review. But that is the plan. I'll let you guys know. Stay tuned. Buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride next week. Be well. Stay safe. Have yourselves a great weekend. Don't forget daylight savings. Turn the clocks back. I love it. We gain an hour. It's the one thing I never have enough of is time. That extra hour is going to be like finding gold for me. So if you are in this country and you observe daylight savings, don't forget, turn the clocks back Saturday night. And I'll see you back here for more Sound Off Live on YouTube very soon. Until then, take care, guys. Oh, Uffman. I forgot Uffman's super chat. He had a buy or sell. Buy or sell. Arnold against Vikingo or you against Goldberg. This is what you made me come back for? I should have stayed on the final screen. Arnold against Vikingo by a country mile. How could you even ask that question? What a ridiculous question. Get out of here.
Fuck Kevin Dunn.